Welcome back to another video, you guys. So as you guys know, the year is almost coming to an end. We have about 29 days, 30 days, I don't know. It's the second, so we don't have many days left, basically, is what I'm saying. But there are a few books that I am either in the middle of, or there are a few books that I really want to try and read by the end of the year. Obviously there are a lot of books that I want to read. There are a lot of books I want to get into, but I just know that I'm just not in the space for those books yet. And hopefully after the beginning of the new year, we will be jumping into those books shortly. So with that being said, though, there are still some books that I do want to read and I want to get to before the year ends. Now, does that mean that I will get to them? No, just because I have a bunch of books that I feel like might come before then, just due to priority. Here are just a few books, and these are not really like books that I feel like are super popular, which is okay, but I feel like a lot of the books that I do read or that I do gravitate towards, they're not like super popular books. Like, not everybody on social media is raving about it or talking about it or obsessing over, and that is okay. Personally, I feel like those are the kind of books that I end up loving anyways, because they're not so overly hyped to the point where I'm trying to get the same feelings and reactions that everyone else is getting, and I just don't. I think that a lot of the times the hype on social media is so extra that I just don't look forward to reading a lot of the books that are super hyped on here, which is why I don't like to read a lot of the popular books when they first come out. So a lot of these books you probably have never really heard of, or maybe you have heard of, but they're not really, like I said, popular. So starting with book number 1 is The Secret World of Maggie Granger, or of Maggie by Granger. I can't remember. I think Granger is the name. But anyways, The Secret World of Maggie, I think that's the name of the title, and I think Granger is the author. I will put the title somewhere up here, or the book, so that way you guys know what I'm talking about. So I did start this book last month. I just so happened to not finish it, but it was a really good book so far, and I believe this is more of like the fantasy genre, but not super fantasy where it's like mystical creatures and like dragons and fairies and things of that sort. It's more like vampires and like wolves and things of that sort, like witches and stuff like that. And I'm more of that kind of fantasy girly, just because I grew up with like Vampire Diaries. I grew up with Twilight. I grew up with the originals. Like, that was my kind of fantasy era, Harry Potter, things of that sort. So I definitely want to finish that book this month. So hopefully that is a book that I can mood read when I'm just in the mood to like not read anything Christmassy. I could definitely binge that. I know there are 2 books. This is the smaller book of the 2, and I think the other book is like 500 or 600 pages. Yeah, it's a lot. So that is one of them. And the second book we have is The Walls We Break by Caitlin Taylor, I believe. And I did read the first book of this series. I believe there's 4 books in this series. And the first book I read like the beginning of this year. And I believe these are all football romances. So I definitely want to go back and read a lot of the books and series that I had started in the beginning of this year. And this is one of those books because, like I said, the first one was really good as far as I can remember. I can't remember the details as far as like what happened and things of that sort, but I do remember loving it and enjoying it and liking it and wanting to read the rest of the series. So I do want to read that one. It's definitely there. Every time I like see it, I'm like, damn, I want to read this book. And hopefully this month will be that month where I read it. Next, I want to read The Lovely Return by Miss Carrie Cole herself. You guys know that Carrie Cole is one of my favorite authors. I have mentioned this before in my previous video. I have read about 3 or 4 of her books already, and this is just one of those books that I have constantly tried to start, and I'm not in the space to read it. And I want to be in the right space to read this book because I don't want to not love it. It's Carrie Cole. Like, I know I'm going to love it, but if I'm in a space where I'm just not ready to read it, I want to give it its fair shot, is what I'm saying. I want to give the book its fair chance, considering it's by one of my favorite authors of all time. So I feel like now is the time to read it. So that is definitely a book that I want to read before the end of the year. Again, a book that you don't really hear people talk about, an author you don't really hear people talk about. So hopefully the month is here and we can read it. Next book we have is Rook and Rebel by Kate Crew. Now, this is another book that is surfing the internet quite a little bit. It's not super like demanding in the popularity area, but I have definitely seen it go around quite a bit. I have seen people compare it to Lights Out. Jesus Christ. It's compared to Lights Out and I believe Butcher and Blackbird. Like, it's if those two had a baby and you got Rook and Rebel. So if you liked Butcher and Blackbird and you liked Lights Out, I heard people say that you will love Rook and Rebel. And the cover to this book is so freaking cute. And I definitely think that it's one of those books that I will actually love. So I definitely... Oh, and I also did start this book as well. I'm in the like first chapter, maybe the second. So I'm not really far into this book, but it's definitely a book that I want to pick up and finish it. So hopefully I can finish this book this month as well. And then the last book that I want to read is called I See You, Charlotte by Coralie Taylor. Another book that I haven't really seen a lot of people rave about or talk about often. But when I do see people talk about it, I do see people say that it's a very sad book. And I don't know, December just gives me sad vibes. I don't know why. And also the background of this book kind of gives me like Christmassy or like wintry. I don't know. I just want to read the book. I know there's 2 books. I think it's I See You, Charlotte, and I can't remember the second one, but I'll put it somewhere on the screen. But I do want to read that one as well. Like I said, I've heard people say that it was a sad book. So we shall see. Let's see if it makes me cry. I love books that can make me cry, just because I feel like I am more connected to books that way. Like, there are so many books that I have read that are supposed to make you cry, and even though I have been connected with the characters, like, I just never cried. And usually if I cry, that means I'm like really connected to the book and the characters. And yeah, so yeah, you guys, those are the books that I want to read before 2024 ends. I made this list a little bit more realistic, considering that I have a lot of books on my hopefuls list that are more Christmassy and wintry that I want to try and read this month. Doesn't mean I'm going to get to all of them, but I wanted this list to be more realistic because my hopefuls list is not, okay? It's not. And we can't have 2 unrealistic lists of books when we know that, like, I'm just not, I just can't. So yeah, you guys, those are the books that I want to read before 2024. In the comments what books you are trying to read before 2024. Let's have a conversation down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye, guys.